Mock Draft Monday live. Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, and it's another live Mock Draft Monday here. We're going to do at least one rookie mock draft tonight with some updated rankings, tiers, where the quarterbacks fit in now with some movement last week in the free agent market. And now some teams no longer need a starting quarterback this year, so they may be out of the hunt for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders to get them for their 2025 season and beyond. So, yes, we'll get to all of that. We've got some big news out of Cincinnati last evening. I was able to break it live with you on my show last night with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, both signing 4-year extensions worth a combined $275 million, locked up with Joe Burrow for the next 4 seasons. Yes. So Cincinnati's offense should be more than fine. Now they just get to be savvy with the salary cap and work on that defense in their hopes of a Lombardi trophy. Now, personally, I would love to see, if my Bucs can't win it, Cincinnati's a fun team to watch, and Joe Burrow's good guy. So are Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I'm glad that they're all back together. Not that they ever left, but, they're together. Piece now. Higgins is not going to be playing on a franchise tag, so that does, in my opinion, give a little bump to his dynasty value. Of course, now he's locked into Joe Burrow for the next 4 years, so there's not that uncertainty as to who's going to be throwing him the ball. He's not going to New England or Carolina. Not that Drake May or Bryce Young are terrible, but they're not Joe Burrow, okay? And they don't have somebody like Jamar Chase taking coverage off of T. Higgins. So Higgins is going to see, single coverage for the next 4 seasons, and that bodes well for his stats. Plus, he's not playing under a franchise tag where he would try to be avoiding injury. So any little injury he'd happen to have this upcoming year, he would be more likely to rest on it rather than play on it. So that too bodes well for T. Higgins owners out there. So if you do own him, make sure that you are charging a little bit more for T. So, and Jamar Chase, of course, not that we thought he was going to be going anywhere. I think that of the two, we all pretty much knew that Jamar was going to be the one that would stay home in Cincinnati all the time, all along. But now you don't have that constant media attention. He doesn't have to deal with the questioning anymore. He got paid a little bit more than his buddy Justin Jefferson over in Minnesota. So that made him happy. All is well in Cincinnati now. Now it's time for them to figure out the defense. Yes. So we had a fun little weekend there on the free agent market. Cooper Kupp getting signed in Seattle. Jordan Mason got traded over to Minnesota. Not that that's a huge deal, but it may mean that the Vikings don't draft a running back early. I'm not sure. Jordan Mason's a solid backup, but I don't want to be counting on him as my first and second down grinder. He did well in CMC's absence last season, but again, I wouldn't be shocked if the Vikings grab somebody in this draft still, whether that's early or late now, who's to say. Again, like I talked about last night, there's certain teams that favor or value the running back position more than other teams. And so the teams who value the position early or who value the position more are going to be more likely to draft the running backs early in the draft, whereas the teams who don't value the running backs, like the Cowboys, I think are more likely to draft a running back later. All right. Now, that doesn't mean if there's not some incredible value, they're not going to take them, but that's my thought process. So don't be shocked if the Cowboys don't take a running back until the 4th or 5th round. That's all I'm saying. And don't be shocked if the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby sitting there, draft a running back in the 2nd round. I mean, it's going to be an interesting draft, and we're all looking forward to it. In the meantime, we get to go through all of these fun little mock drafts, and we're going to now, if you want to join, go ahead and click the link down there in the comment section. I'm going to go and bring up the draft board now, and let's see here. There we go. There we are. And so if you want, go ahead and join in. I'll give you a minute or two here, see if anybody wants to join in. Otherwise, I'll get started here shortly. Now, we're doing this based as a 12-team Superflex tight end premium. Just most of my leagues are either half point or 0.75 premium. I do play in a couple that are like start 2 tight ends, or give like a full point bonus for the tight end premium. Obviously, those ones you'd be looking at Tyler Warren a little bit earlier. Same with Colston Loveland, as well as the other 3 in the next tier of tight ends, Harold Fannin, Mason Taylor, and who am I missing? Elijah Arroyo from Miami. Now, you could put Terrence Ferguson up there from Oregon if you'd like. Still not. I want to see his draft capital. If his draft capital if he gets day 2 draft capital, I could see bumping him up right into the tier. Otherwise, right now, I'm thinking of more of like a 4th round pick for him. In this format, definitely somebody, though, you'd want to draft in a 2 tight end league. All right. So, again, if you've got any questions on any rookies, go ahead and throw them in the comments section. If you like what you see, smash the like and subscribe. That's what helps the Birdhouse keep rolling here. We'd like to hit 100 subscribers. If you are the one who is the 100th subscriber right now, we're at 96 subscribers, so we're so close. If you're the 100th subscriber, you will get a free roster review. Matt English and I banged out 2 roster reviews last week, and we've already gotten good feedback from the guys that we did the roster reviews on. They've already made a couple of trades and trying to improve their roster's value and positioning themselves to be dominant in the future. So check those videos out. Those came out last week. They're available now. You can check out my Patreon. You get my rookie rankings. It's just $3 a month. You're also available to speak in the forum there, or contact me anytime to get some, advice. Sometimes it's not just advice. Sometimes all it really is just assurance. Like, you're on the edge. You want to make this deal, but you're not so sure. Like, should I trade for Marvin Harrison or not? Should I trade away Devontae Adams right now? Am I a contender? Am I not? There's a lot of questions, especially at this time of the year. It's, still kind of early in the off season. We got a long way to go yet before you got to set our lineups, right? I mean, it's the middle of March here. It's St. Patty's Day. We're 5.5 months away from actual games. So just a month away from the NFL draft, though. It's about 5 weeks. Technically, it'll be Thursday night. So that will be, from this Thursday, it'll be 5 weeks away. So getting close. And that's why we're doing these, to help prepare you. All right, here we go. Let's get started. We're going to do the top pick. Now, I'm not using any NFL mock draft again. I want to get my my bearings straight on how I evaluate these players talent-wise. First, I've done a few with landing spots, but for right now, following the combine, I want to meander myself through, a couple of drafts just to find where the talent settles in, so that I'm not wavering too much or putting too much into landing spot when the NFL draft does come. But up top, we still have Ashton as the top talent. I don't think there's any argument there. He could land anywhere from Raiders, Cowboys, even maybe the Saints or Bears. We've heard rumors. Those would be not the situations you'd think. But again, like I just said, some teams value that running back position more than others. So just because they've got a stud there, like the Saints in Alvin Kamara's obviously getting up there in years. They want to have a stud to replace him, right? Or if he's injured, they got to have a stud running back there. Just like the Niners, they value the running back position. So the Bears, they've got DeAndre Swift, but he's only got 1 year left on his contract, and Swift hasn't been. He wasn't terrible last year, but he's not a superstar either. So, I mean, all in all, he's been maybe a little disappointing compared to where he was drafted. People thought he was, a lot of people had him as the second best running back in that draft behind Jonathan Taylor before the draft. Then CEH went to the Chiefs and everybody bumped him up to the top. And that's what we want to avoid doing here. So that's why we go through this exercise right now. At number 2, I'm going to go with Omarion Hampton. I'll beat this to death, but I love this running back class. And 3, 4, 5 years down the road from now, you're going to still see Hampton right there with Genty putting up numbers. And so I'm buying into the good strength. I'm buying into the strength of the class, not just taking positional value here and going Cam Ward. But with pick 3, I'll go Cam Ward. Okay. Pretty much solidified himself as the QB1. Could very well be the 101 in the draft, but I don't know. I'm not buying into the Titans taking Cam Ward just yet. All they brought in so far is Brandon Allen, the old backup in San Francisco. So it's really just Allen and, of course, Will Levis. Mason Rudolph left and and signed with the Steelers. So he's really their quarterback for now. We don't know if it'll be Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or somebody they draft. We'll see. Aaron Rodgers just wants to leave us hanging and get all the attention he can. But hey, I'd love to see the drama if Rodgers signs there. All right, next up, though, we're going to go with Ted McMillan, top wide receiver in the class. He ran a 4.48 at his pro day, which is I'm more than happy with that. I mean, a 4.5 I would have been happy with. So a 4.48, totally solid for Tet. No worries here. I've been comping him to somewhat of a mix of Drake London, Mike Evans there. So those are pretty solid comps. I mean, if he has a career that starts out like London, maybe that's not so exciting, but he's still, you're still starting him every week, right? Of course, we'd like to see a little better numbers than that, but kind of depends on where he falls. He goes to New England at 4 or Carolina at 8. Those would be great landing spots. I mean, he'd be the number 1 right away, and I'd see a ton of targets in either of those spots. So I'm going Tet at number 4. Next up, I want to dip back into the running back class, and we're going to go with Quinshon Judkins here. I like Judkins ever so slightly over Trevion Henderson, his teammate, and I'm just going to go ahead and slide Trevion right back behind him. I just saw a mock on ESPN for the first round at least, and it had Didn't have Quinshawn going in the first, but it had Henderson going in the first to the Vikings. Again, like I said, they just traded for Jordan Mason, but don't put it beyond the Vikings to go ahead and draft another guy. Aaron Jones is not a true bell cow 25 touch running back. He is most efficient when he's getting, 15 to 18 touches a week and staying healthy. Aaron Jones is pretty good for missing 3 to 4 games a season. You can pretty much count on his hammies backing him up a little. And so Henderson would be there to take on more of a load than as would Jordan Mason as well now in Minnesota. So next up is when it gets tricky here. So this is where, all right, the 5th best running back is Caleb Johnson. I honestly could move Caleb Johnson back up a little bit depending on his landing spot, but I would say Caleb is the 5th best running back right now. But then we've got, the 2nd and 3rd best wide receivers. There's always the wild card in Travis Hunter, and then Shedeur Sanders and the tight ends. So right now, though, I am leaning tight end. I've seen Tyler Warren going last couple of mocks now. I've seen him going to the Jets, pick 7. That's a monster landing spot where he'd be in line to be a top 2 target immediately on his team. That's what we want with our tight ends. That's what helps you get elite top 5 tight end production, is being at least 2nd in targets on your squad. Now, sure, it's coming from Justin Fields, but I think that Freiermuth was doing all right last year. And, Fields can support 2 guys, all right? Not 2 monsters wide receiver seasons, but he definitely fed DJ Moore well. And I think that Tyler Warren would do all right. And, of course, situations change. It doesn't mean just because Fields is signed in to be the starting quarterback right now for the Jets, who's to say they don't draft another quarterback here this year to try and strengthen that quarterback room. That's obviously been a problem for the Jets for many years. And so we'll see what Aaron Glenn and his staff decide to do there in New York going forward. But Tyler Warren, talent-wise, I'm saying I'm going to take him there. Just because some mock said he was going to the Jets doesn't mean that's where he's going. He could go to just about any team, and they could use his talent. All right. So next up, I'm going to hit up Shedeur Sanders. And part of this, yes, is the position, the quarterback position. But, Shedeur, in the right situation, he gets the right coach, and he could end up anywhere from, he could go to Cleveland, the Giants, anywhere on down to even Pittsburgh, right? It's a very wide range of picks that he could go. We're talking pick 2 all the way down to pick 21 there. So there's a wide range, many possible suitors for Shedeur Sanders. And he's a good pocket passer, all right? So I don't want to just tear the guy down because I don't see superstar written all over him like he may think. But again, if he goes to the Giants and he locks in with Malik Neighbors, we could see some top 10 seasons from Shedeur Sanders. I don't know about top 5 because I don't know that he rushes like those elite quarterbacks that get into the top 5 in Dynasty. But Shedeur, I don't want to say he's growing on me, but I'm seeing a little separation between him and Jackson Dart, and that's why I'm going to go Caleb Johnson here at pick 9. I've seen Caleb go as far as 201 or 202. I don't want to be that guy that passes on the running back talent in this elite strength of the class. Next up, I am going to go Jackson Dart. I'm buying into the noise on Jackson Dart. I liked him in college. From what I saw, he was at Ole Miss. He wasn't at one of the big time Alabama or Georgia's or LSU's. Ole Miss is kind of under the radar in the SEC, I want to say. They are an SEC school. They've put out plenty of talent in the NFL, but they haven't had a quarterback yet. And we'll see if what Lane Kiffin, was teaching him can actually translate to the NFL, and see if that helps them get more quarterbacks at that school. Next up, I want to go with Emeka Egbuka. I've got him just one pick ahead of Luther Burden. And so both of these guys I want to talk about, because landing spot is going to be huge for these guys. I see both of these guys as great complementary wide receiver twos, and that's why they're going at the back end of the first. I think that you can get a little more fantasy value, dynasty value, potentially out of the two quarterbacks there in Shedeur and Jackson Dart, as well as Caleb Johnson, who can be a bell cow type running back where he gets you over 20 carries a week. The receiving game is questionable for Caleb Johnson, but we've seen it many times before. I mean, Kenneth Walker can catch the ball. He only had 12 catches in college. So, I mean, that's, to me, one of the more overrated things is receiving chops for running backs. Okay, you got to let them see if they can do it in the NFL before you judge them, I think. So back to Egbuka and Burden. They're a little different receivers. I mean, they both can play inside and outside. Egbuka is more suited for the power slot position. Like, he is, to me, like Chris Godwin, okay? And so, from this rookie class, if you could line up Ted McMillan and get Egbuka, that would be like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin all over again, all right? I hate to keep pounding on that, comparison, but that is what they are. And so Egbuka, yes, he could be a team's number one, but he's ideally suited as a number two. So I don't know what his ceiling actually could be, and that's why he's more suited for a back end of the first round pick. Same goes for Burden as far as where he should get drafted. But if he goes somewhere where there's an elite number one already, and he's only got single coverage on him, he can go in the slot and on the outside. He's a great playmaker. I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but he has a little more Malik Neighbors in him than Egbuka. He would potentially be a team's wide receiver one more so than Egbuka. So, I go back and forth on those two, honestly. But next up, we are going to go, let's see here. I'm going to go grab Colston Loveland because I see him as the last of this here, which would be from pick 2 on down to 13. Now, I'm not saying that I think that Colston Loveland could get picked 102 and Omarion Hampton could possibly go way down at the 201. What I'm getting at, though, is their dynasty value could all fall into this big, big range, and that I think they're very close. Genty is up here, and then the rest are right in this bucket, and I don't have a problem at all trading down from 102, 103, 104 and picking up 2 of the picks within this tier. If you can get down to the 201, heck, I don't even mind the 202 or 203, especially if Travis Hunter does end up going somewhere where he could be a receiver. I'm seeing more and more mocks of him to Cleveland. So I'm going to go ahead and put Travis Hunter there at the 202. Right after him, though, I'm going to fill in the next 2 wide receivers that I like, and that would be Trey Harris and Matthew Golden. I am not double counting Matthew Golden's 40-yard split at the combine. He's still a very good receiver, showed in the latter part of the season that he can be a number one. He's going to be a true X receiver in the NFL. Same goes for Harris. Harris is a lot like A.J. Brown light. Okay, now maybe it's a cheesy comparison because they both went to Ole Miss, but that's what Trey Harris potentially could be. Now, he had a big injury issue this last season, so we didn't quite get to see all of what he could do, but what he did do on the field. Now, granted, the competition was questionable, but he did pretty well against LSU. All right, that's not they didn't have the greatest season, but they're still a top end program. Okay, so Trey Harris, I like the gamble at 203. I mean, you're getting somebody who legitimately could be the top wide receiver in this class when all is said and done. All right. So then is where it gets interesting. And I am going to take the highest upside player available at this point, and that would be Jalen Milroe. So Milroe is somebody I've been higher on than most, and there's a simple reason for it: his legs. Okay, if this dude gets drafted in the second, even the third round, as somebody who is going to learn behind somebody else for maybe the whole first season, maybe for 10 or 12 weeks of his rookie season, and then get an opportunity, he does get this opportunity, he could potentially put up the most fantasy points of any of the quarterbacks in this class, because I think he's, he wasn't great as a thrower, but you look at some of the games, he had solid numbers. So I think it's being overblown, his throwing ability, but I'm buying the legs here. If he does have a few boom weeks at the end of the season, then you could go into next offseason and potentially get a first rounder for him. So that's where the gamble comes in. Similar to the gamble you took with Michael Penix, who was going around this range last year. Now, they're different types of quarterbacks, but the bottom line is they both potentially could be worth first, as Michael Penix is now. And so that's where I'm buying into Jalen Milroe at this range. Okay. Next up, I'm going to bring up my rookie rankings here quick so I don't miss somebody. But, okay. There we go. All right. So next up, I'm going to stay with the wide receivers, and this is a dude who I love now. He was much lower early on in this draft process, and that's why I got to go hunt him down here. Oh, I'm just going to have to type him in. There we go, and that's Jalen Noel of Iowa State, and sort of similar to Luther Burden. He can play inside and out. His best fit is in the slot, but he can do both. Good possession receiver type. He was graded amazing all around, and the 40 in the shuttle drills at the combine. He was a solid complement to Jaden Higgins, the bigger-bodied wide receiver from Iowa State, and I think Jalen Noel is a true pro's pro, and he'll be able to play right away as a 2 or 3 in the NFL. And I think, Jalen McMillan is a pretty decent comp for him. And so it all depends kind of on his landing spot, how much playing time he gets right away. All right. So that's where I'm going with Jalen Noel. Next up, I'm going to go with Alec Iomaner out of Stanford now. This guy is a little polarizing. He wasn't overly hyped during the college season, okay, but he's a bigger wide receiver, and he's ready to play as well at the NFL level. I don't want to call him Puka Nacua, but he's kind of got that. He can play a power slot. He can play on the outside. He also, I think, is NFL ready. He's probably going to start out as a wide receiver 3, though, is where he would get drafted, I think. And then you can I could see a team drafting him where they might have a wide receiver that's going to be a free agent following year. So then year 2, you could really look for Iaminer to explode. All right. Now, after that, we're going to go to the running backs, and Devin Neal is somebody that I think is just a little underrated. Okay. He's boring. He's got a boring name. He went to Kansas, but he gets the job done. And that reminds me exactly of David Montgomery, who has come to work with the hard hat and lunch pail and gotten the job done every year. David Montgomery even had a top 5 or 6 season in Chicago, and he's done nothing but score touchdowns with the Lions, and he'll be back healthy this year. Devin Neal is a first and second down grinder, probably an ideal fit for someone like, say, the Steelers. They wouldn't have to draft him in the first round. They could go somewhere else. But if he's available there for them, they don't have their second round pick now because they gave that up in the DK trade. But in the 3rd or 4th round, I could see the Steelers grabbing him, or Damian Martinez from Miami. He's also a good grinder back. Okay. Next up, I want to hit up some speed, and we're gonna take Dylan Sampson here out of Tennessee. He teamed up with Jalen Wright 2 years ago for quite the tandem in the backfield there in Tennessee. And this guy he's tougher than he looks. He looks a little small, 5'8", 5'9"-ish, but he's got wheels. He can get in the end zone. He had a nose for the end zone the last couple of seasons in Tennessee, double-digit touchdown seasons. He could be very sneaky here and be one of the top 5 running backs in this class when all is said and done. All right. Next up, I am going to jump on. We're going to keep going down that running back well. And I'm going to grab Ollie Gordon. Now, Ollie Gordon's been very polarizing. He had a great 2023 season, got a DUI in the offseason, then rolled into the 24 season and did nothing. Now, I'm going to bet that it was the Oklahoma State team that led to that. Their defense was absolutely putrid. They were trailing every game. So there wasn't much opportunity for running the ball. Now, he didn't do anything to help himself, really. But so far, as far as his testing goes, it wasn't terrible. His weight-adjusted speed score is fine. So Ollie Gordon's still somebody I'm buying into. I think that some good team is going to take a shot on him, and he's going to have an opportunity to be a first and second down back for them. All right. And next up, we're going to go with Cam Scatabo. And Cam, if you don't know who Cam Scatabo is yet, I don't know what you're doing playing Dynasty. So Cam's somebody who obviously came out of nowhere at Arizona State and just did it all, right? And this guy's drawn comparisons to Mike Allstott, to Peyton Hillis, all the way down to Rex Burkhead, okay, as far as what he could be in the NFL. But what he can't deny is his heart. And so will he have to work his way up through the special teams? Maybe he'll do it. Whatever it takes to get on the field, I think Cam will get on the field his rookie season and has as much potential as any of the running backs in the second level. If you want to put the first 5 running backs in one tier, this next level of running backs here, like 6 through 17, you could rattle them all off in pretty much any order. Okay. It's really hard to say right now without landing spots, but I'm really just trying to build a tier out for you all to see just how many running backs are in this tier here. And so with that, I'm picking Bashul Tutin, one of my favorites, just blew up the combine, 4.32 40, great in the shuttle drills. He was a monster at the combine, much like Jalen Noel at the wide receiver position. This dude pushed himself up into the day 2 conversation, and I think any team that gets Bashul Tootin will be very happy they did. So after that, we're going to lean. All right, I'm going to do it. There's one more running back I want to grab here, and this is a guy who is sort of under the radar, and not many have him this high, but I do, and that's Raheem Sanders, out of South Carolina now. He was at Arkansas his first 2 years. Chris Tisbert, what's up? How are you doing? Welcome to the Birdhouse. Am I crazy for trading Goff and Ladd for Puka, 212, and Rodgers? Okay. Well, is it super flex? Is it a 12-team super flex, normal kind of format? Because I don't know. I like it. Getting Puka, if it's super flex, even trading away Goff if it's super flex. I like getting Puka. Like, you could trade Goff and Ladd, 12-team super flex. Okay, yeah, I love that deal for you. The 212 and Rodgers is just gravy in that you have Mahomes and Geno. Okay, so whether Rodgers is there or not, you're going to be fine. So yeah, you didn't need, if you had Mahomes, Goff, and Geno, you had a situation there where you had, I'm sure you were starting Goff pretty much over Geno, but yeah, you didn't need both Goff and Geno. So I love that deal. I think Geno is going to be solid in Las Vegas for at least a year or two and get you what you need out of the quarterback 2 position. But tearing up from Ladd McConkey right now to Puka is awesome. Yes, good job. Ladd is somebody who put up a monster rookie season, but at the same time, not sure whether or not he already hit his ceiling is what I'm getting at. So I'm one for selling high on Ladd McConkey right now. The Chargers, we don't know. I mean, Ted McMillan could fall to them. They could draft Igbuka. They could bring Keenan Allen back. There's a lot of different things that the Chargers could do. They threw the ball more than people expected. And if you look at the numbers, they actually threw, they were in the top half of the league as far as passing in a neutral passing situation or a neutral situation. So I thought so too. My league mates killed me on it. Now I have AJ. Dude, that's awesome. You can just smash your league mates come fall. That's what you'll do. All right. So don't worry about it, Chris. You're playing the game the right way. That's good. Because yeah, Goff is nice, but Goff versus Geno, honestly, there's not a huge difference there. Going up from Ladd to Puka is the way to go on that one. Yeah. And the 212, like you just saw here, you're going to be able to land an awesome running back. If you want to go tight end, whatever, there's plenty of talent. That 212 pick is not that shabby. Or you just use that in another trade come draft day. You could package it up with another second, move up earlier in the second, anything like that. Geno should put up decent. Yeah, he'll be fine. He's got an awesome tight end in Bowers. Jacoby Myers is very solid. They'll probably bring in another receiver in the draft. We've seen anybody anywhere from, they could draft Tet at 6. I've seen them take Matthew Golden. So they're either I think they'll either take wide receiver there with their first pick or their second pick. So I think that they're going to help Geno out that way. Rustin doesn't have that. No, exactly. Right. His Goff is at his peak value dynasty wise. Yes, he's got a very solid core in Amon-Ra, Jamo, and Laporta. But if he hasn't gotten any higher than where he is right now, I mean, the fact is he's a pocket passer, so he's never going to get up into the elite tier. And then you've got the fact of his age, right? So he's already at 29 or 30 years old. So it's very hard to see a quarterback like that move up. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield. He can run the ball, and he had an awesome season. And where is he at in dynasty rankings at quarterback? Okay, his value, yes, it's more than what it was at this point last year. All right, but it's not that much more. Okay, and he can even run the ball. So Goff, yeah, you're selling at his peak value. Goff's got his place. He's a very solid quarterback too. I've even seen him on, as a QB1 on some teams that are loaded at wide receiver and that kind of deal. But no, I love this deal for you, Chris. Great job on that one. All right. So back to the draft here. I'm going to look at running backs and tight ends right now, because we have this next tight end tier coming up. I didn't grab one in the second round. And that's because I think, you don't do the deal if you didn't have Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes, I think, will bounce back. Once he gets Rashee Rice, his numbers will get back up there. All right, so we're going to go to the tight ends here now. And this is where I think you can gain the value. If you do need a tight end, don't feel locked into having to grab Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, because any of these three dudes right here, and I'm just going to pick them all back to back. They're, to me, all the same tier right now. It's going to matter. Situation is definitely going to matter for these guys. But any of these three could easily end up being the top tight end in this class. Okay, we've seen it before. George Kittle was picked in the 5th round. Travis Kelce was picked in the 3rd round. Okay, so it's tight end is, yes, they have a good, decent hit rate lately if they were a 1st round pick, but going over, and you can go back to the 2017 class that was loaded at running back. In that class, O.J. Howard was the first tight end picked, okay? And then you had Evan Ingram picked later. There was, I can't think of them all right now, but you go through that. That was a very good tight end class as well. And there were some decent tight ends picked later on. And I don't know if that was Kittle's class or not now. Can't remember. But anyway, there were some good tight ends later on in that draft as well that have done much better than O.J. Howard, put it that way. All right. So we've got those tight ends out of the way. Now is where you could start looking at maybe some of the other quarterbacks. Some feel that Quinn Ewers could get taken in the 2nd round. I don't know. I mean, the NFL teams don't really generally pick quarterbacks in the 2nd round anymore. I see a lot of them mocked there in the 2nd round, but if you look at actually what the NFL teams are doing, they're not picking quarterbacks in the 2nd rounds. They wait till the 3rd or 4th rounds to do that, and I see that happening this year with the loaded running backs, especially with the loaded defensive line. There's a ton of good defensive linemen in the top 60 picks, so you're going to see just an inordinate amount of defensive linemen picked in the 1st and 2nd rounds of this draft. And I think that could push these quarterbacks back a little. And so I think that I'm going to go back to the running back and we're looking at, I'm going to take the guy out of the UCF, and that's RJ Harvey. Harvey had a great combine. And so he's moved himself up into the conversation, as did Bashul Tootin. And so RJ Harvey's one of those dudes that is in that running back tier, like I said, of running back 6 through 17, where you could just mix mash them all over. And a landing spot will be important as to whether they get an opportunity right out the gate, or they're going to be sitting as the running back 3 to start with and have to work their way up and get some playing time. But they all have the talent to be able to do so. And so next up, I'm going to take Damian Martinez here. As I mentioned him earlier when I talked about Devin Neal, he's a first and second down grinder, as is Jordan James. So I'm going to grab him right after him. Jordan James was in the Oregon backfield with Bucky Irving, and they split time 50-50. So that should say all you need to know about the talent level of Jordan James, right? So was Bucky's success last year based off of talent or situation? You know, that's what you have to look at there. And so, yeah, I've got no problem taking Jordan James right there. And then I'm going to follow that up with another running back. He's not... There he is. He's moved his way up the boards, and that's Brashard Smith. And follow that right up with DJ Giddens. So those guys are all super potential there. So we've got 5, 6, and 11. There we go. There is our running back 6 through 17. They're all picked right there for you. Starting with Devin Neal there at the 208 on through DJ Giddens to the 309. You've got 11 running backs there and 3 tight ends. And to me, that's my second or third, I would say, third mega tier. Okay. So that's how I'm sort of organizing things right now in the best parts of the draft. These are where you get your strength in this class. Any of the wide receivers after this at this point, Jaden Higgins is sort of on the bubble because he could go either way, but he's not as good as Trey Harris or Matthew Golden, right? So, or even Ayumanar. So, but in the right situation, Jaden Higgins could get a good opportunity. It just depends. Like if he went to the Packers, he'd have the opportunity to possibly be the one there, because the Packers just have a bunch of number 2s and 3s, or 3s and 4s really. But that's where I'm going to go right now is Jaden Higgins. And let me see. I just want to check out my rookie rankings quick. Yeah, Higgins and this guy I don't want to forget. And that's Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Under the radar all season long. He did get hurt. Otherwise, he was on pace for like a 1,600-yard season, and you would hear more of him then. But Jalen Royals is a tough son of a bitch. He is like Amon-Ra St. Brown meets Steve Smith, okay? This guy is not going to give up for anything, so I think he's going to have a spot in the NFL. So this is just showing the depth of this class here, where you've got all the way through pick 311. You've got solid dudes that can play at the NFL level. Now it just comes down to whether or not these guys take advantage of their opportunity that they'll get. All right. So now for this last mega tier, you can start to fill them in. I'm going to go with lean into the quarterbacks here. I'll take Quinn Ewers just because draft capital will probably dictate that. He'll probably get picked ahead of these other guys, but I know who's been moving up the board, and that is Tyler Shook out of Louisville. Yes, that's how it's pronounced. He's been moving up, so I've got him now there at quarterback 6. I mean, I should just flip him and Ewers around, because Ewers is just somebody. He's a career backup. That's all. Next up, though, I'm going to go with Will Howard, and then Dylan Gabriel. Gabriel's a lefty, very accurate, out of Oregon, has the career touchdown pass record in the NCAA. Played long enough in order to do that. And so that's how he's gotten himself to that spot. Don't want to forget about Xavier Restrepo. He is just a gamer, very much a lot of Wes Welker in him, I guess you could say. He was playing with Cam Ward this year and quickly became his favorite wide receiver. So you could see that happening in the NFL. He may take a year or two to find himself in the NFL, but this guy is definitely, you watch him play, he is. So I believe they said he was the first wide receiver to measure in at 5'9" and over 205 pounds. Have you been looking at that? I haven't had a chance to watch any of the pro days today. So I just heard that I saw Tet ran the 4.48. I don't know if there's anything else major of note. Cerberus, if you've got anything else that I need to know right now that could change some of this draft stock. Yeah, 4.48 is good for Ted. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that solidified him. It really solidified his spot as the top wide receiver. That's all we were looking for. I mean, honestly, if he ran a 4.5, 4.55 even, I would have been fine with that. Again, his comp was Mike Evans. Mike Evans was the number 7 pick overall, and he ran, I believe it was like a 4.57. So you can see I still think he's a Mike Evans guy, clean and smooth route. Yeah. If you watch him, I watched him against Arizona State, and just the way it's like he literally watches Mike Evans film, because he lines up the same way that Mike Evans does, kind of hunched over a little, and just that same body type. And then, when he's running his routes, he's just real smooth with it. Not too much, his hips are good. So, and then obviously downfield, he's just a monster. And where do you think he should go? As I already mentioned, I think the Raiders would be awesome for him and for them too. New England could use him. It's just a matter, like New England with Mike Vrabel there, it just doesn't feel like a Mike Vrabel type pick, I guess. So but after that, Carolina would be the landing spot. Bryce Young needs a dude like him, and he could really put up numbers right out of the gate, because Jalen Coker, looked all right, and Thielen still is going to be there, but Bryce Young needs somebody if he's going to really make it in the NFL. I think that Bryce Young needs somebody like that. You think the Pats go Travis Hunter? Yeah, I could see that. But the problem with that is I don't know that Vrabel is going to play him at wide receiver then. So I know that I've heard if Cleveland takes him at 2, that they like him as a wide receiver. So that's one huge thing to look at. I have moved Travis Hunter up. I had him much lower. I had him way down beyond Aya Maynor because of the fact that he was looking like just going to be a cornerback. So now, though, with the news from Cleveland, possibly taking him at 2 and making him a wide receiver, that's where I'm seeing Travis Hunter possibly being a wide receiver. And then if Cleveland were to take him, dude, I would have him somewhere between Tet and Egbuka. I don't know if I put him over Tet. Talent-wise, yes, but Tet is smoother as a wide receiver. Like Travis Hunter has been getting all these stats off pure talent, right? So we really don't know how well this guy could be if he just puts 100% focus at the wide receiver position. Because if he plays wide receiver 100%, defense and cornerback especially isn't something that you can just like come in and play after practicing half-ass at it during the week. So yeah, I don't think he has been unlocked. Yeah, absolutely right. Travis Hunter, man, offensively, dude, the sky is the limit. It's just a matter of what the team that drafts him decides to do with him. So it was very interesting that he went to the combine as a corner, I thought, but it doesn't seem to matter so far. It seems like the teams that want him to play wide receiver, they don't care about that. So, all right, let's see here. I just want to take a quick peek at my rankings, make sure I don't forget anybody here. And I kind of did here, yes. One more quarterback that I want to mention, and that's Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord, of course, was the quarterback at Ohio State, then transferred to Syracuse, and this guy can grip it and rip it, and he's got Nick Mullins written all over him, like career backup, but I like him more as a backup than and in my rankings, you can see I have him ahead of all those dudes, Shook, Howard, and Gabriel. I just forgot about them. What are your thoughts on moving from A.J. Brown to Marv as a contender, with it or not? No, I don't hate that. I'd like to get a little something on top of it, but you're probably not going to be able to do that because Marv's value is still hanging pretty strong. It hasn't fallen off the map at all. So, yeah, I don't hate it. It kind of depends on the rest of your wide receiver room. If A.J. Brown is like your oldest wide receiver, then you don't necessarily have to do something like that. But if you've got another guy that you're counting on, like Devontae Adams or Mike Evans, and then you don't want all your guys to age out at the same time. So moving from A.J. Brown to Marv in that case, I don't hate. All right. Am I high on Marv? Yes, I still believe in Marvin Harrison. I think that hopefully this offseason, Kyler and him decide to work on things together. And, I think Marv has not been unlocked. The dude was too good of a talent. You put his numbers up against some of the best in their rookie season, and Marv has no issue. Like, take Calvin Johnson's numbers. Marv was right there with Calvin Johnson's numbers. So there's the problem with Marv is that Malik Neighbors blew up. Okay. And so everybody thinks that Marv, not everybody, but the people who are down on him thinks that he sucks just because he wasn't as good as Malik Neighbors last year. And then you had Brian Thomas also blow up. So that's the only problem. Like, if Marv, put it this way, if Ted McMillan puts up the numbers that Marv put up last year, you should probably be happy. Okay. I think that some of these rookie seasons that we've seen out of wide receivers lately have gotten us really spoiled. And what we're expecting out of these rookie wide receivers is you get wide receiver classes like last year's very much. Am I high on him as a player, or do you think he is living off his dad's name? Okay. So there's no denying the fact that his name means something. Okay. But I also believe in genealogy too. So the fact that he has that in him, there's something different about kids that grew up in households of professional athletes. Look at Patrick Mahomes, right? They're different sports, but he still understood the pro game ahead of time. That's what kind of allowed him to just sit for a season, I think, and not have any issue with it. He understood the pro game and how it acts, how it is. So I think that Marv, and that's going to bode well for him, is that, yeah, he didn't have as good of a season as Neighbors or Brian Thomas, but he is on a track where he could be a Pro Bowl wide receiver for the next few seasons and have a great career. I think he is going to have a long, sustainable career, one where he will have seasons that are top 10 numbers. And all he's got to do is have a good season this year, and he's going to bounce right back up and be contending with Malik Neighbors. I mean, once Chase starts getting older and Jefferson, it's still going to be the Neighbors, Marv, and Brian Thomas Jr. show going forward. So you think he's a buy? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why where Chris asked earlier, going from AJ Brown down to Marv, I have no problem with that. I'm missing Ladd. Yes, but Chris here just traded Ladd high, so I talked about Ladd. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Ladd. All right, I just think that what he did last season could be his ceiling. Now, could he become the next Cooper Kupp and have a monster season on top of it? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, Justin Herbert's no slouch throwing the ball, so there is potential to be higher. I just think that the Chargers might go out and get a second tool there for Justin Herbert, and that would kind of cap Ladd's ceiling maybe. So I don't put it this way. I don't mind selling high on Ladd, but buying on Marv. Okay, put it that way. I mean, if you could flip those two, I would take Marv. If it was Ladd versus Marv, I'm taking Marv. All right. So next up, let's see here. Get through this. Yeah, I'm going to grab Terrence Ferguson, tight end, who's kind of under the radar here, at least when you're looking at sleeper, because he hasn't his draft stock or his ADP hasn't moved up yet. And then I'm going to grab running back that I love. He had a great combine too. This guy is way under the radar. And that's Marcus Yarns out of Delaware. Keep that name in mind when you get to the 4th and maybe 5th rounds of your rookie drafts. He is a dude from a small school that you'll want to watch some film on. That's all I got to say about Marcus Yarns. Then we'll go with the 2 Michigan running backs back-to-back. These guys both are NFL running backs. I don't know that they're anything more than running backs RB3s, but depending on who takes them, again, I keep bringing up the Pittsburgh situation, but dude, you could throw Donovan Edwards or Khalil Mullings there, and they could do some damage. I wouldn't be shocked if their old head coach, Jim Harbaugh, grabs them as Najee Harris's backup, right? Najee only got a 1-year deal. So he grabs one of these 2 dudes, Harbaugh, that is, he could have his running back for 2026 in the waiting right there. And then they wouldn't have to shell out a big contract for 1 year for a veteran running back. So that's where I'm going with the 2 Michigan running backs. Just make sure I am not missing anybody. Oh, yeah. This guy, another combine warrior, Jack Besh from TCU. There he is. And we got 2 more picks. Let's see here. Well. How the mighty have fallen. All right. I can't not draft him. I don't love him, but that's Isaiah Bond there. And then you could pick either of the Texas guys. It would be Jaden Blue or Gunnar Helm. Helm had a rough combine. He got injured out of the blocks in the 40, so that was unfortunate for him. But I'm going to go. I like Corey Kiner from Cincinnati. He's a solid, decent build back. Quinta Allen out of Syracuse, great receiving running back. So you still got some dudes here. Trevor Etienne. Oh, I'm just going to grab Jaden Blue. Somebody's going to really want his speed, but whether he's anything more than Keaton Mitchell or not, we'll see. Can we trust TCU wide receivers? That's why he went at the 410. I'll just say that. Yes. Nah. Fortunately, I was not in on Jalen Reagor, but no, that was the Baylor receiver, Denzel Mims. Denzel Mims killed me. Denzel Mims, definitely I was a little too high on, as I was too high on Javon Baker last year. So it's important to keep notes. Note and check yourself and admit your mistakes. Know where your mistakes were, because it's all right to miss on Javon Baker, right? Yes, I could have taken. You were high on Jalen Reagor, yeah. See, and the only reason I'll tell you what, the reason I was down on Jalen Reagor is I caught a note. Somebody was telling me how the guy didn't block. All right, that's all it was. And that wide receiver class, if you remember, was very loaded. A bunch of them went in the first round. That was the CD, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy class. But when I heard Jalen Reagor didn't care to block, I was like, you know what? There's so many other receivers in this class. Like, if you're not going to be putting in the effort to block, I don't need you. So my new team after that Goff move is Mahomes, Geno, Walker, Charb, Chuba, Brooks, Kendrick, Kamara, King, damn. And then Jefferson, Puka, AJ Brown, and Bowers. That is some quality ready to. I think you're ready to contend for sure, Chris. That's looking strong. I mean, just pick up some bodies at quarterback. I'm talking get as many. You are set with your wide receivers. You probably need maybe one or two behind those guys. And so don't load up on the bench at wide receiver. Just get as many quarterbacks there and some bodies at running back. Bowers, if you got Bowers, you don't even need a backup tight end, honestly. So maybe one body at backup tight end. Don't have 3 or 4 tight ends though sitting on your roster. If you've got Bowers, there's absolutely no reason to have 3 or 4 wide receiver or tight ends. I mean, hopefully you only have the 212 and 27 first. Okay, gotcha. So you have pot committed. Understandable. I've done that. You got Strange. Perfect. That's all you need. Yeah. It's so far, it looks like he's starting. Yes. Now Jacksonville definitely could draft a tight end. All right. This is a good tight end class, but I've heard good things out of the new brass. They seem to like him there. So yeah, Strange could definitely, I have enough Strange shares myself. So I've been watching that kind of closely as well. So yeah, I think you'll be good with Brenton Strange there. But yeah, just be careful when you only have a 27 first, okay? Because you've already pretty much made your moves now, all right? But fortunately for you, you've got the backups. How many starters is the league? Is it only like 9 or is it 10 or 11 starters? Cerberus says they will draft a tight end. Yeah, I believe they will. Just comes down to who that tight end is and if he could actually beat out Brenton Strange. I would think that's Strange. So it's start 9. Okay. Yeah. So you got a real similar team to mine. I've got a team where I have AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and DK at wide receiver. Then I just have Khalil Shakir and Ridley behind them. And those are the only receivers I have on the roster. But I also have King Henry. I've got McCaffrey instead of you've got Kamara there. I have Chuba as well. And the other running backs I've got are the Tampa running backs. I've got Bucky and Rashad White. So now I do have Dak, and I have Josh Allen at the top of that team. So, but again, in that team, I do not have a first until 2027. So the key is that you've built your running back room out so that you don't need to necessarily make deals mid-season. You've got enough depth there. I would maybe try and see what Rico Dowdle would cost just so you have Chuba's back up there. But otherwise, fire away. You don't have to fire away a shot with the 212. You could kick that forward to 2026. I think that would be almost more suiting for you because then you have a 2026 second in your back pocket going into the 2025 season that you could use that 26 second to buy an injury replacement for. when there's going to be an injury that happens inevitably for you. All right. All those guys are going to go out there and play 17 games. So you got to know this is football. Guys get hurt. You can't cry to your mom when your guys get hurt and use that as the excuse. I hate that excuse. That's what you were thinking too. Yes. Good. Exactly. Do that. You can just sit on it for now, because nobody right now is going to give a 26-second for the 212. They might, but just wait until it comes up in the draft. Somebody's going to want one of these running backs or one of the tight ends come the 212. I mean, these running backs are too good, and there's going to be good landing spots, but it's probably going to be a running back that you don't need, because any of these guys, wherever they go, like, you do not need an extra running back. You're loaded. But what you will need is some insurance for an injury that happens. All right. So good move, Chris. I really love that Puka move. That was very good. So yeah, there we have it. Our rookie draft for the day. Cerberus stock will go. Yes, that 212 stock definitely will rise for sure. Absolutely. So, you guys got any other thoughts right now? I mean, great rookie talk today. I appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, Chris. No problem. I thank you for joining. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and check out the Patreon. If you want a roster review, I mean, you basically got a little snippet of a roster review there, but yeah, the 100th subscriber gets a free roster review. So we're looking forward to hitting that up. Just ready to watch some pro days. Hell yeah. Me too. Looking forward to it as well. Cerberus, I've been seeing your shorts. Good job on those. I love them. So keep grinding, buddy. Same here. All right. So yeah, with that, I'm going to head out. Matt English and I are going to be back Wednesday morning for a little free agent recap. Hopefully we'll have some more signings, but I don't know if we're going to get Rodgers. Rodgers is going to sign anywhere until the draft. So yes, thanks, Cerberus. I will. I think Rodgers is just going to grind this thing out. And eventually I think he's going to cave and end up in Pittsburgh. That's where I'm putting my chips on. And maybe it's because I have too many DK shares, but hey, I just would love it for entertainment purposes. Totally. The team that gets him will regret it. Yeah, I know. When he goes to Pittsburgh, it's going to be a shit show. DK, Pickens, Arthur Smith. Why not throw Aaron Rodgers into the mix? Hey, that'll be entertainment for us for some Sunday night games. Dart to the Steelers. I love it. Dart to the Steelers. Yes, I could absolutely see that happening. Pick 21 for sure. Yes, that would be a great. And then, I mean, him and Mason Rudolph can just battle it out in camp. If Dart is ready, he could be starting week 1. If he's not quite ready, maybe they'll wait till, like they did with Ben Roethlisberger. I remember who was the starter. Anyway, Roethlisberger came in like week 3 or 4 and then was ready to go. Smith and Rodgers. Oh, yes. It would be phenomenal drama for us all. See, the reason I think Rodgers actually would work with him is because Arthur Smith's going to call his plays, and then Rodgers is going to get in the huddle and he's going to be like, fuck that. That's not what I'm going to play. We're going to run this play, and then we're going to go out and see what happens. So, but Rodgers is one dude that can just stand up to him and be like, you know what? You can call whatever you want. This is what we're going to run. So, but I think Rodgers is smooth enough to make it look during the week like, yeah, Arthur, oh, that's great game plan. Great game plan. I love it. Yeah. And then come Sunday, run something totally different. So, but that's what you get. If you take on Aaron Rodgers, you're buying into that. You're buying into his mind, and he's running the show. He is running the show. And from Pittsburgh's perspective, I mean, what what other option do they have? Is Jackson Dart actually going to fall to them at 21? I don't know. It kind of depends on Shedeur Sanders, where he gets drafted. So, I mean, somebody could like Dart more than Sanders right now. I don't know. But anyway, thanks, guys, for joining in tonight. Love you all. Smash that like and subscribe. And with that, want to remind you all, never stop working.